Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Once again, everybody, Nev from NevStack. But today I want to talk about some of the shenanigans going on at Google right now. So let's take it back a bit. Google, of course, has been around for a very long time, and their main battle cry is "Don't be evil." Something that they changed quite recently. It was a company philosophy. So a lot's going on, a lot's changing. A lot of these newer people are getting in to develop, to be tech leads, and just to be in tech with Google. A lot of these individuals kind of identify as social justice warriors. They want to see change and they want to represent change. They're definitely very far left. New York, Silicon Valley, these are places that are well known to be far left. And sometimes you got to wonder if it's hurting them almost just a little bit. Now, the thing about the companies that these far left individuals work for, they try to be far left in a lot of situations if they're in New York and Silicon Valley. The unfortunate thing is that when it comes to tax-paying time, you find that most of them actually have offshore accounts and they don't want to pay their taxes, which is necessary for all corporations, especially if we want to keep the country going. Everybody has to do their part. This includes the big corporations like Google, who of course try to have as much money as possible for themselves, because let's face it, that's just how capitalism goes. What's going on now is there are two individuals within Google that were getting documents that were supposed to be classified to them, or that they simply should not have had access to. And these two individuals, I don't know their names, but they were trying to unite Google employees within activism. Now, because they've been suspended indefinitely, there's a bit of a protest going on today at Google. I think this is their third ones. They've had sit-ins before. They've had protests where they don't talk to the press. They don't talk to anybody outside. But you can see that there's definitely still an issue, and there's issues with like sexism and stuff like that. Google gets sued from both sides, funnily enough. So in one hand, they get sued for not paying women enough. They do their research and they find out that men are underpaid. At the same time, they're getting sued by the other side. I forget the exact details of that, but man, these big corporations are getting sued all over the place these days. Right now, Amazon's suing the government because the government gave a big, what do they call it? A big contract to Microsoft, and they're pissed off because they know that Donald Trump doesn't like Jeff Bezos, and they think that has something to do with it. But anyways, I want to get back to the Google thing. Has Google become evil? Is it becoming evil? Is it becoming the same as every other corporation in the United States? Do they need to become the monsters that they fight? I believe it was Apple. That decided that maybe it was Google, decided they weren't going to have any lobbyists. And if you don't know what a lobbyist is, it's someone who's paid to go to the government and negotiate in the favor of whoever they're lobbying for. And I really hate this idea of lobbyists. I see why it needs to be there, but at the same time, the people in politics need to be responsible to their constituents, and there's nobody there to lobby for the constituency. Now, the people who are in power have the ability to warp, to bend the truth within the media to make it look like things are a certain way, one way or another, and it definitely happens quite a bit. Like, let's face it, even in, I think it's called the Democrats over in the States. Bernie Sanders was supposed to get in, but they put Hillary Clinton in. Guys, I think you need someone new to vote for if your group is doing stuff like this. Seriously, get a third contender, get a third party. I don't care if it's on the right or the left, but if you're having situations where the people that you vote for, you think they're good, are doing stuff like this, then they're not good. Simply. Bernie Sanders should have gotten that position, not Hillary Clinton. And now, because of this dumbass BS that you guys have pulled, we have to endure Donald Trump, because to many people, he seems to be the most authentic individual. And that's another problem with politics. There aren't very many authentic individuals. There's a lot of BS that baffles brains. There's a lot of silly people out there, and they don't mind lying. And apart from that, the end users, you and I, don't mind consuming BS media. It seems like in the just past 2 or 3 years, we finally gotten the idea that some news is fake, and it seems to be from Donald Trump's information. That's fake news. Nobody ever thought any news was basically fake. And man, we get so many armchair politicians who who say things in bars, at home, not based off any information that they can get, but just the crap that they spew, who, even if they're proven wrong, don't want to admit that they're wrong. And this is on either side, and it's unfortunate. But with this confusion, it brings us all back to the chaos, back to the quagmire of chaos which we all came from. Anyways, this Google thing. Is Google turning evil? Is Google changing? Does Google realize perhaps that it has to become the monsters that it tries to fight in order to deal with these same monsters? Look not into the void, or the void will look into you, and battle not with monsters, lest ye become a monster. Maybe Google needs to become a little bit like this. Anyways, the documentation that these two individuals who were suspended were obtaining was, I believe it was about contracts with national defense. With national defense. Wait one sec. With Border Patrol, and people working within Google didn't think that Google should be working with that kind of thing. Unfortunately, business is business, and business can be downright evil. And we can see that with Blizzard, Activision, Nike, Hong Kong versus China. That's just how it goes, and someone's got to call them on this stuff. And if they don't, then it's just business as usual. The thing is, business will destroy democracy if you let it. And if you don't say anything, and that's one of the things, we have to be disagreeable so that we can stop tyrants from getting into power, or so that we can call tyrants, and there's tyrants on both sides. If you just think that the people on the left, the liberals, the not Trump, whatever the Americans call it, if you think they're all good, then the bad people are going to get in there and act like they're good and do bad things in the guise of being good. But man, these Americans just think like you're either left or right, and if you're left, oh, man. At the same time, the people on the left are losing some information. So, for example, the immigrants that are coming that are being separated from their children is freaking heartbreaking. Don't get me wrong. It's freaking heartbreaking. But it's also just what America does. It is illegal to enter the country in an illegal port of entry. It is illegal. There is like, I don't know what it is. I can find it for you. But it's literally written in American law that if you're going to immigrate, you have to go through the legal channels. If an American gets pulled over from drunk driving and their kid is in the back, they will be separated from their child. If an American has police called upon them for domestic dispute, and it's reasonable, they will be separated from their child. This is how it works in America for Americans. So when people from other countries are coming in through illegal ports of entry, this is the kind of stuff that happens to them. It's just the way it goes. This is the stuff that happens to them. And everyone's upset about this because the immigrants are being taken away from their parents, which is freaking heartbreaking. Don't get me wrong. Man, I can't even imagine. Like, shoot, you see a kid that's been separated from his mom or dad in a grocery store. You hear that kid crying at the end of the aisle. Man, that breaks my heart. Seriously, that legitimately breaks my heart, and I don't want to ever see that happen. But if you break the law, then you have to deal with it that way. If you're entering the country illegally, and it is illegal to enter the country through a point that's not designated to entry. There's many designated places that you can get into the country, but you have to do it legally. If you come in through somewhere not like that, it's actually written. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but it's actually written within the law that the children will be taken from them because they're illegally entering the country. Now, at the same time, I really like the cartoon. I really like the South Park episode where they say that all of these children should convert to Judaism because you can't keep Jews in a concentration camp, right? Oh man, that's a good idea. You should definitely do that. But those are the weights. Those are the weights. That's the way the world goes, and it seems like Google is full of these employees who want to do better with the world that may not have the viewpoint from up high, but at the same time are the people that they're working with totalitarian bad people. What's the term? Just bad people that don't really care about the world and just want money. But then again, that's exactly what capitalism is. That's exactly what capitalism is. That's just how she goes. And because border security and all these places have contracts, Google's going to bid on them. But a lot of people get upset about all this stuff, and it all comes down to people being upset. But anyways, that's what's going on. Sounds like there's another protest going on at Google. Someone got butthurt. Someone got suspended, and people are pissed off with it. And I don't think we're going to be hearing a lot about it. I don't think we'll be hearing a lot about it. But that's what's going on the internet, ladies and gentlemen. That's it from me, Nev from Nev's Tech. Just like and subscribe if you like this kind of stuff. Always appreciated, and as always, take care of each other, folks.